30 minutes before the final fight of Muhammad Ali, something strange happened inside the dressing room. An elderly woman appeared at the door. No one on Ali's team recognized her. No credentials, no explanation. But the moment Ali saw her, he stood up instantly. For the next 10 minutes, they spoke alone in the corridor. No one heard a single word. Ali never revealed her name. Minutes later, he walked into the ring at Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum and fought the final fight of his career. For 35 years, nobody knew who that woman was. Until after Ali died, when a hidden box of letters finally revealed the truth. No one knew her name. Not that night, not in the years that followed. The final person Muhammad Ali spoke to before the last fight of his career remained a mystery for decades. 30 minutes before Ali stepped out for that final bout, something unusual happened inside the dressing room. His entire corner saw it. None of them fully understood it. An elderly woman appeared at the door. No credentials, no entourage, just a quiet presence asking to see him. Ali looked up the moment he heard she was there. Then he stood immediately and walked over. Without hesitation, he stepped into the corridor with her. For 10 minutes, they spoke alone. No one heard what was said. He never explained the meeting afterward. He never spoke her name. Then he walked out and fought the worst fight of his life. For years, the people who witnessed that moment wondered whether those 10 minutes had changed something inside him. December 11, 1981. The Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum hosted what the boxing world quietly suspected would be Ali's final appearance in the ring. Ali was 39 years old. Across the ring stood Trevor Berbick, a younger heavyweight from Canada, 12 years fresher, stronger, and far closer to his physical prime. Even the Nevada State Athletic Commission had refused to sanction the fight earlier that year. That decision alone revealed what doctors already believed. Ali's body had absorbed too much punishment. But Ali had always insisted on fighting. That stubborn determination had defined his entire career. It remained unchanged. The dressing room that evening held the familiar figures from Ali's inner circle. Angelo Dundee, his longtime trainer of 2 decades, stood nearby. Their relationship had grown strained over the years, the way relationships sometimes do when one person knows it is time to stop and the other refuses. Drew Bundini Brown was there too. So was Gene Kilroy, along with several other cornermen and close associates who had spent years orbiting Ali's remarkable life. Everyone in that room knew one thing. Arguing with Ali about retiring was pointless. The conversation always ended the same way. But the atmosphere that night felt different. It lacked the electricity that usually surrounded Ali before a fight. In earlier years, his dressing rooms buzzed with anticipation, the sense that history might unfold at any moment. This time, the energy felt muted, not empty, just heavy. Something unspoken filled the room. Ali sat quietly in the center chair, gloves not yet laced. Fighters often retreat inward before a bout, concentrating, visualizing the contest ahead. Yet this felt different. He had been silent for nearly an hour. Not theatrical silence, not mental preparation. Real silence. The kind that suggests someone is thinking about something far beyond the immediate moment. At roughly 8:45 p.m., 90 minutes before the opening bell, a knock sounded at the dressing room door. One of the security guards leaned inside. "There's a woman outside," he said. "She says she knows you. She doesn't have credentials. Older woman." Ali's eyes opened instantly. He turned toward the doorway. Something shifted in his expression, something subtle yet unmistakable. Every person in the room noticed it, though none could later describe it clearly. Angelo Dundee would later say it was the first time all evening that Ali looked completely present. "Let her in," Ali said. The door opened wider. An elderly woman stepped into view. She looked to be in her late 70s, small in stature, dressed neatly, carefully, as though she had taken particular care preparing for this visit. She carried a small handbag. And she looked at Ali with an expression none of the cornermen could decipher. It wasn't the eager smile of a fan, nor the emotional look of a family member. It was something older, something deeper. Ali stood up. In decades of working beside him, Dundee had developed a precise understanding of Ali's body language. He knew how Ali looked before confident fights. He knew how he looked when uncertainty crept in. But the expression he saw when Ali rose to greet the woman was something else entirely. Later, Dundee would describe it with one surprising word. Ali looked like a boy. Ali crossed the room quickly, 4 long strides. He took the woman's hands in both of his and spoke softly, too softly for anyone else to hear. She replied. He nodded. Then he turned toward the room and said simply, "Give us a minute." The coroner stepped outside into the corridor. Ali and the woman remained inside the dressing room with the door mostly closed. 10 minutes passed. No voices reached the hallway. When the door opened again, the woman emerged first. She walked carefully down the corridor without looking back. Ali stood in the doorway watching her until she turned a corner and disappeared. Then he returned to his chair. "Okay," he said quietly. "Let's get ready." No one asked questions. Before a fight, you didn't interrogate Muhammad Ali. And besides, the people in that room had enough experience to know that some moments explain themselves only years later. The fight itself proved difficult to watch. Ali moved slowly, painfully slowly. The dazzling reflexes that once made him the most graceful fighter in boxing history had vanished. What remained was courage, but little else. Trevor Berbick won a unanimous decision after 10 rounds. When it ended, a quiet understanding settled across the boxing world. This was the end. 3 days later, Ali confirmed his retirement. He never fought again. The identity of the mysterious woman remained unknown. Cornermen mentioned her occasionally in interviews over the years. Angelo Dundee, Gene Gilroy, and Drew Bundini Brown all recalled the encounter. Their descriptions were identical. An elderly woman. 10 minutes in private conversation. No explanation afterward. For 35 years, that was where the story ended. A curious footnote. Nothing more.
Then Muhammad Ali died on June 3, 2016. In the weeks following his death, his family began cataloging materials from his personal archives for the Muhammad Ali Center. Inside Ali's study in Scottsdale, Arizona, sat a wooden box. His wife, Lonnie Ali, explained that Ali had always asked for that box to remain unopened during his lifetime. Inside were 41 letters, all written in the same handwriting, all signed with the same name, Ruth Elaine Washington. The letters revealed a story almost no one in Ali's public life had known. Ruth Elaine Washington had been a neighbor in Louisville, Kentucky, when Ali, then known as Cassius Clay, was 12 years old. She was a school teacher in her mid-30s, and many years earlier she had quietly helped a struggling boy. In 1954, young Cassius Clay had brought home a failing grade in English composition. His mother, Odessa Clay, mentioned it casually during a neighborhood gathering. The following Saturday morning, Ruth Washington knocked on the Clay family door. She brought a grammar workbook and a simple offer. She would tutor the boy every Saturday, as long as it took. For 2 years, she taught him writing, patiently, quietly, and completely without payment, just because she believed he needed help. Her final letter mentioned the upcoming fight in New York. She wrote that she might come to see him before the bout, not to stay long, just to see him. At the bottom of the letter were 4 handwritten words in Ali's own script. She came. Those 10 minutes in the corridors suddenly made sense. They were not between a champion and a fan. They were between a man nearing the end of a legendary career and the teacher who had once sat beside him at a kitchen table when he was 12 years old and struggling to write a sentence. No one knows what they said, but the meaning seems clear. She came to see him one last time, and he stood up to greet her the way you stand for someone who knew you before the world did, the way you stand for someone who believed in you long before fame arrived. The 41 letters were donated to the Muhammad Ali Center in 2017. They are not displayed publicly, but the archivist who read them described something remarkable. Every letter treated Ali exactly the same, whether he was champion of the world or suspended from boxing, whether he had just won a title or lost one. To Ruth Washington, he remained the same boy she had helped on Saturday mornings in Louisville. And perhaps that is what he needed most. Millions loved what Muhammad Ali became. Ruth Washington loved who he had been before any of it. Sometimes that kind of loyalty matters more than the applause of the entire world.
Millions admired what Muhammad Ali eventually became. A champion, a global icon, a voice heard across continents. But Ruth Washington cherished something different. She cherished the beginning. The boy sitting at a kitchen table in Louisville, Kentucky, struggling to shape sentences in a notebook, while the world outside had no idea who he might one day become. That distinction mattered, because fame changes the way people see you. It reshapes relationships. It invites admiration. It attracts crowds. But it also creates distance. Very few people remain who remember the person before the spotlight arrived. Ruth Washington was one of those rare individuals. She knew Ali long before championship belts, television cameras, and roaring stadiums. Long before he became the greatest. To her, he remained Cassius, the boy she had helped every Saturday morning. When archivists at the Muhammad Ali Center studied the 41 letters, they noticed something striking. Ruth never altered her tone, not once. Her words remained steady and familiar, whether Ali was the most famous athlete on earth or a boxer banned from competition, whether he had just won the heavyweight championship or had it taken away. She wrote to him the same way each time, warm, honest, unimpressed by celebrity, like the years between them had never passed. The center's archivist once described reading those letters as opening a quiet window into Ali's private world, a world far removed from microphones and crowds. She said every page carried the same gentle message: you're still you. Not the legend, not the myth, just the person. And sometimes that kind of reminder is more valuable than applause. Years earlier, long before the letters surfaced, Angelo Dundee had spoken about the moment in that dressing room in December 1981. He had witnessed nearly every legendary chapter of Ali's career. He was there for Rumble in the Jungle. He stood ringside during Thrilla in Manila. He watched Ali defeat Sonny Liston and change the course of boxing history. Those were the moments everyone asked about, the famous fights, the thunderous victories, the nights that filled arenas and headlines. Yet when Dundee reflected late in life on the memory that lingered most vividly, he surprised people. He spoke about a small dressing room in Uniondale, New York, December 1981, an old woman at the door, Ali standing up. Dundee admitted that he hadn't known who she was that night. None of them did. But after Ali's passing, when the letters were discovered and the story finally emerged, something clicked. A piece of the puzzle fell into place. Suddenly, that quiet encounter in the hallway meant more, much more. Dundee explained it gently during one of his last interviews. People say Ali lost that fight because he was too old, he said. Then he paused. But I don't think that's the whole story. He leaned back in his chair and reflected for a moment. The trainer's voice softened as he continued. She came to see him before it was over, he said. He saw her, and after that, the fight was just the fight. To Dundee, the true final contest of Ali's career had not taken place inside the ropes. It happened in that corridor. 10 quiet minutes between a world champion and the woman who had once believed in a 12-year-old boy with failing grades. A moment of closure. A private victory. In Dundee's words, Ali had already won. Great champions are often remembered for their battles, the punches thrown, the titles claimed, the dramatic comebacks. But sometimes the most meaningful victories happen far from the spotlight, in quiet hallways, in simple conversations, in moments that remind someone who they were before the world started watching. And on that December night in 1981, just before the final fight of his career, Muhammad Ali stood up for a teacher who had once stood up for him. A small gesture, but a powerful one. Because greatness is not only measured by what happens inside the ring. Sometimes it's measured by the people you never forget along the way. By the time he stepped into that ring, he'd already finished what he came to do. The trainer's voice softened as he continued. She came to see him before it was over, he said. He saw her. And after that, the fight was just the fight. To Dundee, the true final contest of Ali's career had not taken place inside the ropes. It happened in that corridor. 10 quiet minutes between a world champion and the woman who had once believed in a 12-year-old boy with failing grades. A moment of closure. A private victory. In Dundee's words, Ali had already won. Great champions are often remembered for their battles, the punches thrown, the titles claimed, the dramatic comebacks. But sometimes the most meaningful victories happen far from the spotlight, in quiet hallways, in simple conversations, in moments that remind someone who they were before the world started watching. And on that December night in 1981, just before the final fight of his career, Muhammad Ali stood up for a teacher who had once stood up for him. A small gesture, but a powerful one. Because greatness is not only measured by what happens inside the ring. Sometimes it's measured by the people you never forget along the way.